What's going on, everyone? Happy Thursday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long-term issues. It is time now for the Thursday edition of the Pandemic Update for Thursday, January 18th, 2024. Starting off today, if you are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. This is where we do the daily pandemic update. I give my own insights on what I'm seeing going on. I read some news stories. I talk about data. We talk about several different viruses, not just the COVID virus. When you see pandemic, you're probably thinking, oh, this is another video about COVID. Yes, it is. But we talk about a ton of other viruses as well because let's face it, COVID is not the only virus out there. However, COVID is the one that's causing the most deaths right now, and it's a real problem. And then you have long COVID as well. So if at the end of this video you learn anything, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Before we get started with today's update, I gotta say something. We're going to go over some numbers today. We do every day. We go over the data. I cannot stress enough, and maybe this should get a video of its own, I don't know, but I wanted to include this today. I cannot stress enough the numbers that we show here. They are just reported numbers. It does not include at-home tests, people who do not get tested, hospitals who are not testing for COVID. On and on it goes. I now, at this point in time, being the 18th of January, we're past the peak of the wave, although we are still in a very highly contagious period, a very dangerous period with high spread. I can safely say, I know more people right now that are positive with COVID or sick with long COVID or whatever the case may be than any other period during the past 2 years, maybe the entire pandemic. I know a lot of people who are sick right now. I know friends who are sick, friends who have long COVID. It's just not good. It's really sad to see. And these numbers, these reported numbers, they are way underdone. I was talking to someone today that works at a hospital, and they were saying that they know they are seeing at the hospital, their emergency department, between 70 to 90 people a day. Now, mind you, this is not a bigger hospital. It's a medium-sized hospital. It's in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And their emergency department is treating 70 to 90 people a day, and they said many of whom either have COVID, RSV, or some form of a respiratory virus. So, yes, this is a real problem. Let's continue on with today's news and then some data. Emergency or not, COVID is still killing people. Here's what doctors advise to stay safe, and, well, you know what you need to do to stay safe. You need to continue masking. These masks work. You need to avoid large gatherings. For the larger the gathering, the more chances are that someone is either infected with COVID or something else. More times than not, it's COVID. So guess what? You need to stay safe and protect yourself and avoid those large gatherings. And mind you, right now, there are around 20,000 people that have died of COVID since the start of October. Again, numbers being undercounted, that's likely a much, much higher number. And we'll see it in excess deaths. Excess deaths have been higher than expected in many countries over the past year or so. So yes, COVID, it's still killing people. I mean, COVID and flu together last week, there were 5,000 deaths, over 5,000 deaths. And that's not including other deaths that we don't even know about because, again, that is an undercount. Then you come to this. Remember the other day we talked about Oakland schools allowing kids to come in if they're positive, providing they have no symptoms? Well, now there's this. It's the entire state of California. The entire state of California is relaxing COVID guidelines. If you're positive for COVID, but you're asymptomatic, you can go to school. Asymptomatic spread, my friends, is real. And that can lead to cases, and it can lead to long COVID. You don't want long COVID. I'm telling you, the friends I heard that have long COVID, or the one friend, he did not sound good. He sounded really bad. And now he's having problems with his lungs. He's having trouble breathing. I mean, it's not good. You don't want long COVID. Incidentally, today, there was a long COVID hearing. I did see the first 20 to 30 minutes of it. I do intend to go back and watch the rest of it. Please, if anyone in Senate was actually paying attention to that today, wake up. Please, wake up. We need this to be accounted for. The longer we keep having these waves of COVID ongoing, the more people are going to get impacted by long COVID. Long COVID is real. It's not fake. There's people out there saying, oh, well, it's being caused by the vaccine. No, it's not. Long COVID started before the vaccine even came around. Okay, my friends? I mean, got long COVID back in 2020. I still from time to time have issues. Some days I'm perfectly fine. Right now you hear me fine. If you heard me when I woke up this morning, the postnasal drip issue was absolutely off the charts and I had no voice this morning. That's part of it. Postnasal drip I had before COVID, but since COVID, it's 1,000 times worse than it's ever been before. All right, moving on. Indiana dashboard adds 126 COVID deaths, 9,760 more cases of coronavirus in 2 weeks. So Indiana cases are still up there, and wow, 126 deaths added. See, I'm telling you, the deaths are still out there, and that is likely an undercount. Moving on to this now. Flu hospitalizations rise in Greater Cincinnati, Ohio. Remember yesterday I said I would do something with Ohio? Well, this is about the best we're going to get. I'm not seeing a full Ohio update. If you know of anything, leave it down in the comments below. I would love to know what's going on in Ohio. But hospitalizations for cases of flu are up in southwest Ohio, but down for cases of coronavirus. This is as of January 16th, by the way. And remember, COVID updates used to be on Thursdays, so hopefully we do see something. But hey, flu is being severe as well. Remember, if you've had COVID, not all people, but for some people, any other virus they come in contact with is then ending up being worse than normal and for a more extended period of time than normal, which is possibly one of the reasons why flu this year is so severe for some people that otherwise probably would have fared out just fine prior to having COVID. Let's take a look at the latest air quality data. Air quality today it's not terrible, but we do have our normal hot spots. We have our spots out in the West Coast, and then take a look at this across the Great Lakes. Yeah, there's cold weather, so people are using their fireplaces. So that's what's going on there. Not too bad in Colorado and New Mexico, the Four Corners region, and just a little bad down in Florida. Not as bad as some of these oranges you see in California and the Mid-Atlantic region as well, and the Northeast. All right, moving on now. We will get some new variant data tomorrow, hopefully, and we'll get some other data tomorrow from the CDC as well. We're not going to do anything with wastewater today because we do have several states to take a look at. First off, national positivity for COVID from Walgreens is 27.5%. Let's take a look at this. You can see here in these yellows, the oranges, and some of the greens. Yes, these are deaths that are rising across the country. The oranges, of course, are faster increases in deaths. COVID is in epidemic status, growing in many areas. It is declining in some areas, but it's still growing in some areas as well, or likely growing. Taking a look now at COVID hospitalization, it's 35,801. This data will update again tomorrow. That's the admissions. We should get an update from that. Last week it was slowing to just a 3.2% increase. I suspect it'll either be flat or down slightly tomorrow. I don't think it is going to go up again. Taking a look at EMS calls in Philadelphia yesterday, it was less. We knew the day before there was bad weather, and it's going to happen tomorrow too. When there's bad weather, wintertime, icy conditions, there's a lot of slips and falls. And tomorrow we're expecting to get some snow here. Hey, if you're in Philadelphia, maybe 2 to 4 or 3 to 6 inches of snow tomorrow. If you like snow, I do. Some people don't. Some people do. It's up to you. But anywho, taking a live look in at the suburbs. Oh, wow, this is not good. This is Montgomery County. Wow, 5 o'clock? Usually, how does this usually work? This is CAD. It's Montgomery County CAD. The busiest time of day for calls is anywhere usually between 11 o'clock and maybe about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's where it gets to the highest number. But take a look at this right now. 22 active calls in Montgomery County. I'm seeing respiratory emergency. I'm seeing cardiac arrest, another respiratory emergency. I'm also seeing accidents, strokes, multiple strokes, another cardiac arrest, hemorrhaging, subject in pain, another respiratory emergency. Yeah, there's multiple strokes. It's just not a good situation right now, and we do know some of those things. Cardiac arrest, stroke, did they happen before COVID? Yes. Do they happen more frequently now? Yes. And take a look at Chester County. A whole slew of calls there as well. sick person, respiratory difficulty, injured person. There's just all kinds of stroke, choking. It's just not a good day for EMS calls. All right, New Jersey, 1,300 hospitalizations. That continues to drop, but slowly drop. You can see here, it's not straight down. It's bouncing off the top at this point. 69 out of 70 hospitals reported, 60 people on a ventilator. In the ICU, 174. And let's take a look at discharges. 230 discharges. That's a good number. Taking a look now at New York State. Cases up from yesterday, 4,249. Taking a look at hospitalizations, they are down as we thought they would be, and they dropped below 3,000. 2,950 people in the hospital. Drum roll, please. We do have new numbers out of Texas. And unfortunately, Texas has not peaked yet. Texas has gone higher. Cases are up 584 over the previous week. 19,301 versus 18,717. Fatalities, wow, they are going up. They increased by 14. 60 versus 46. However, there is some good news. While cases are up in Texas, hospitalizations are down. That is good news. And their hospitalizations are 1,799 versus 1,950. That's down by 151. And take a look at this. Well, we can't take a look at this. It would be nice if we could see what the ICU numbers are. But again, I don't know why. New York State's done it. A lot of states have stopped reporting on the ICU. That makes absolutely zero sense to me, because that would insinuate the number of severe cases. Do they not want us to know that? It's very possible. All right, Chicago, hospitalizations, 34, they're down slightly. Hospital beds in use, 4.3%. That is up. Emergency department visits are down. Laboratory confirmed cases, 214 is the daily average. That's down. Deaths are up in Chicago ever so slightly. And vaccinations, that's something we don't want to see go. We want to see more people taking the vaccine, and that dropped ever so slightly. Colorado, hospitalizations as of the 16th dropped slightly to 207, and we can also take a look at emergency department visits. They're down slightly. Cases reported, 2,503 cases have been reported in Colorado over the past week. Taking a look now at Washington, and emergency department visits for COVID, down 11%. Influenza, down 28%. RSV, down 38%. Percentage of hospital admissions, down 24%. Influenza, down 3.5%. RSV, down 47%. RSV has clearly peaked in the majority of the country. There may still be a state or a county within a state where it's still rising, and it really goes based on your local area. Each local area could be different. All right, number of beds, ICU beds occupied for COVID, 38. Influenza, 22. So that is down slightly for both, but remember, we're seeing all these things that are down. You have to keep one thing in mind. There may be many people that are hospitalized right now with a mystery virus. What I mean is, it could very well be COVID, but the test is just not picking it up. Remember, the JN.1 variant and some of the other more recent variants have immune escape, and the testing is not always picking this up, and that is a real problem. All right, taking a look at what is going on in Massachusetts, and we can see here that Massachusetts dropped a little bit. The 15% of the emergency department visits were for respiratory viruses in the past week. That is lower than what it has been. Influenza severity is moderate. COVID is low, but that is not the lowest level. The lowest potential level would be minimal. So there's still low for COVID emergency department visits, and hospital admission level is low as well. We will get an update on the national flu numbers tomorrow. We do not have them yet, and I have to refresh here for California. Let's see if California has updated their COVID levels. And take a look at this. It looks like as of the 6th, the count for hospitalizations in Los Angeles is 810. We'll get a full California update tomorrow. That's what I'm referring to. Los Angeles right now specifically, and then we'll get the rest of, hopefully, the rest of California tomorrow. And you can see a lot of this other data has not updated again since the 6th. Their cases were dropping at the time. Remember, they never really had a major wave compared to what we're having here in the east, out west. So we'll have to see what happens there. That does tell me that there's room for maybe not a quick drop, but a slower drop, as there really isn't much immunity from the variant. And I hate to use the word immunity because we've seen cases where people test positive for COVID, get better, and then 3 months later they get COVID once again. I mean, immunity is such a word that was overused during the early days of the pandemic. Oh, we've built up such a level of immunity. Yeah, if we did, then how come people are getting COVID 2, 3, 4, 5 times? I mean, we actually did a survey once on Twitter. I actually did a survey on Twitter. How many times have you had COVID? And some people were, it was just astonishing how many times some people had. I think there were a few that said 5+ times. Yeah, it's crazy. Alrighty, guys, that does it for today's pandemic update. I know I didn't have any good news to report today, but let's face it, I know a lot of people sick right now. The numbers are likely an undercount. The numbers are actually probably much higher than we know about, and hopefully tomorrow maybe I'll have some better news, but we'll see. The good news would come from the CDC. Maybe we will start to see some of these numbers, these inaccurate numbers, dropping. If you learned anything today, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. I will see you guys all again next time. Of course, if you know anyone that needs to see this content, share this with them. And if you got anything to say, maybe you know a lot of people sick right now, by all means, leave a comment down below. I will see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Thursday evening. Thanks for watching.